Hello and welcome back to another video here on my channel. As we are jumping into the warmer weather months, I am reminded of the joys of this job as a homemaker. For me personally, this beautiful time of year to be able to be home with my children, teaching them, caring for them, and our home, cooking meals, working in the gardens is very special for me. Because if you didn't know this about myself, just 3 years ago, when this time of year would roll around, I was counting the days until summer break arrived, as I used to hold a career as a high school teacher and only had those 2 short months of summer break that were my only really opportunities to be a stay-at-home mama with my sweet little ones. So I've talked on this topic a little bit in the past, but today I wanted to revisit it since it was fresh on my mind with these warm weather months coming up, and I just had a really beautiful conversation with a sweet young lady on this very topic. Now, when I talk on this topic, I realize it does not resonate with all women and mothers. Some people are very offended by this topic, but these videos are for the young women who are thinking about their future as a mother and a homemaker and weighing that option between the options that the world seems to push upon women these days. The go to college, get a degree, climb the work ladder, take a short break to have a few children, and then send them off to be cared for by someone else, and then only see them in the mornings, evenings, and the weekends. Now, this scenario works for many families just fine, but if this is not something you long for and instead you prefer something different, keep listening. Many of you have already heard my story. If you haven't, check out the video titled Homemaking is a Calling, Biblical Homemaking, and I'll link it down below for you guys. So if you haven't seen my story, you can watch it there. So instead, today I would like to share a conversation I recently had with a sweet young lady. This is a young lady I know in real life, and she reached out to me for advice on this topic because she knows my story of regret surrounding this topic of pursuing a career life versus motherhood, and then trying to choose one or the other, and then juggling the two at the same time. She told me that she had just been accepted into a very prestigious college program, and the program is set to begin soon. But her exact words were, "Everyone is just so happy about it, besides me. More than anything, I just want to be a mom, a stay-at-home mom, raise my babies, and take care of our animals." She stated that she knows in today's society it's almost always understood that the female may need to bring in money to help with the financial load, and that benefits such as retirement, insurance are important. But to her, being a mom that is present with her kids each day is so much more important than any dollar amount she would bring home. However, she was worried that she would disappoint the people around her or that she was going to make the wrong decision. And this really got me thinking how many young ladies are struggling with this mindset of wanting to be a fully present mother, but are stressed out by what others may think of their decision to stay home, not pursue that career, or to leave that career, and that worldly push for all women to strive for these prestigious college degrees and to be equal contributors to the household as their male counterparts. I'm not against college and career by any means. I'm beyond grateful for my 9 years in the classroom, and I love the opportunity to impact the lives of the many students I taught. However, what if instead we taught these young ladies today that if they do pursue these careers, that their lifestyle could be left open to allow them to leave that career if they wanted to when they transitioned into the motherhood season? I think many ladies might actually have this goal. Personally, in the back of my mind, I sort of had it as well. I would start a career, then plan to leave it once I had children to be home and raise my children. The best of intentions might be there, but oftentimes what we see happening, and what actually happened in my own life, is that the household begins to live up to the means of the two salaries coming in, the husband's salary and the wife's. They become dependent on both to continue to live a certain lifestyle to keep up with others around them or just their own personal desires. The story is usually the same. The mother wants to be home with her kids, and the husband might even agree and want her to do the same, but they both agree that it's impossible right now because they're dependent on her salary to keep up the lifestyle they are living and the debt they may have accumulated. However, contrarily, as I've talked about this topic more and I hear from other women, I've been shocked by how many husbands actually want their wives to continue to work, to share the financial load, and it kind of leaves the mother stuck right in the middle. A few decades back, though, men were proud to be the sole providers for their family. So what has changed in just a few decades? Could it be the fact that men of these past few generations had working mothers themselves, so they feel that that's just what is right or normal? Could it really be that simple? Or is it because they would be jealous that their wife gets to stay home all day? Or is it because they desire the fancier, more money lifestyle? Or could it even be the stripping away of masculinity from our society and the push for gender equality on all fronts that now has men jealous of women wanting to do the most womanly things like mothering her own children? However, let's just add that being a stay-at-home mom is not just an easy way out if we're doing what we're actually called to be doing. Many women today may be staying home, but they don't actually care for the ways of the home and the family that we are called to do as the Proverbs 31 woman. Having a husband come home to a dirty house, no dinner, unruly children does not make our husbands feel appreciated for their work done outside of the home. Maybe that's the reason why many husbands today aren't fully on board for their wives staying at home. I think that any man who knew his wife would be at home spending money like there's no tomorrow would consider her staying in the workforce as well. After all, with the modern conveniences of today, a stay-at-home mom has lots of options. We can be lazy if we want to, we can choose the convenience options, or we can work hard for our family's health and benefit. But honestly, there really aren't that many examples of happy, loving, hardworking stay-at-home moms today. The contrary is actually what I see most of scattered all over social media. The mom drowning in the tasks of the home, trying to manage all of her children, then shoving them off onto her husband when he comes home from work, yelling, "Your turn." It's no wonder why motherhood is not looked upon as a full-time career anymore. So much of the beauty has been stripped away, and we are told that we are just better off sending our children away somewhere and contributing to the financial load of our home, giving our children more money, more opportunities, more things instead of being fully present at home each day. So these are just a few personal thoughts on why motherhood is no longer looked upon as an honorable, worthy calling, and why our society has pushed women outside of the home today, many times with our own families urging us to do this as well, or even showing disappointment when we choose to be home with our children. So let's go back to my own story and the young lady's story I shared about at the beginning. I only wish I had realized how beautiful being a keeper of the home would be. Raising my children, tending to the needs of our home, preparing nourishing foods to keep us healthy, and being the constant in my children's lives day in and day out. Only wish my husband and I had strived to set up our lifestyles in an easier way that I could have come home initially after having my first child. It took almost 2 years of transition from paying off debt and relying on my salary for this dream to become possible. It was 2 years of misery trying to juggle motherhood and a career and leaving my children with someone else each day when my heart only ached to be home with them myself. This is just not how it should be if the mother's heart is at home with her children. So my advice to the sweet young lady in the story and any other young ladies listening is to make your desires known to your spouse and your family. Set up your lifestyle in a way that you are not dependent on your salary to continue living a certain lifestyle. Think smaller houses, cheaper cars, learning to cook more at home instead of taking the convenience option of expensive prepackaged foods or dining out. Also would even go so far as to encourage fully saving the wife's salary from the beginning of your marriage so that the household is not dependent on her income to live comfortably. Learn to live on that one income and stash the other to build up your savings, so when the time comes for her to mother the children full time, she can confidently leave her career knowing she can depend on her husband's provisions. And it's actually quite a beautiful feeling knowing you can fully rely on your husband, and it's personally brought so much more closeness in my own marriage in these past 3 years since we transitioned into this lifestyle. Now, since I just mentioned that, I'll go ahead and address the fact that I also get a lot of pushback around this topic from other women saying, well, I don't want to be dependent on a man at all. And yes, there are men out there who I would not want to be dependent on as well. And it's actually quite sad what our culture has done to the masculinity of men these days. But I think families are slowly waking up and starting to raise their sons to be better than this for future generations to come. Teaching our sons that holding responsibility and having pride that comes with that is an essential part of becoming a man following the Lord and his example of provision to us. But let me just encourage you that there are still godly, loving, masculine men out there that will love to take on the shoulders of the provisions of their family. Young ladies, that's the kind of man I'll begin praying for God to bring you. So I'll close by reminding you that being a homemaker and mother is a true calling and can become one of the biggest blessings and ministries in your life. It most definitely has for me. So coming from a mama who has been on both sides of the fence, working a full-time career while trying to mother her children well and keep up a household, and now these past 3 years coming home full-time to mother and keep our home, I've never been happier as a mother, as a wife, or felt more blessed in this ministry God has given to me right inside of my own home. These are truly the days that I've prayed for, and I pray that if this is a desire for your own heart, young ladies, that you will start taking the steps now, much earlier than I did, to lean into God's design for you as a mother and being fully present with those sweet heavenly gifts, your children. Homemakers, your work matters. It is so important, and it is the greatest blessing you can offer to your family.